I'm going to jump right into this video because I have been so excited to share these spring DIYs that I have done. I believe this is like my third video that I've made, and I just have so much fun editing them and doing these little voiceovers that I think I'm going to look into getting a really nice camera so that I can get some better shots. So to start off here, I am using these egg pieces that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to use my Waverly antique wax paint, and I'm giving a good coat in the center, not so much worried about the edges because I will be distressing this. So taking these poster letters, I am going to spell out the word welcome, and I am going to use my ruler here to line up the eggs, just so they kind of line up and match and are centered on the egg pieces. If you didn't want to use the poster stickers, you could always get a Cricut or freehand them as well. And you will notice I do have this extra piece. I'm going to add a printout that I have. And I was too far into recording this DIY before I realized that my camera flipped, so I do apologize for the angle here. I am just taking my Waverly white chalk paint and I'm giving a good coat over each letter, and then go ahead and covering the whole egg itself. But I'm not worried about full coverage because I am looking for that distress look. And I didn't record this piece, but I did put down a little Mod Podge over the letters because they just weren't sticking to that wax paint very well, and I wanted to make sure I got them as clean as I could. And then next up, I'm just taking my antique Waverly wax again, and I am going over the edges to help distress it a little bit. And then this brush that I use for the white, I am also going back over. This just helps give like a more blended distress look, and I don't let it fully dry before I apply the white, so hopefully that makes sense. At this point, you do see that I got a little more brave and made some darker spots on the eggs. So I did set those aside and let them dry, and now I am just taking something so that I can peel up the letters. Look how pretty. So this is a printout that I got off of my computer. I have this paper, it's like a sticker paper, and you can print on it, and then the back has the adhesive so that you can just stick down whatever you want to cut out. I actually have these from when I was doing scrapbooking, so I'm not 100% sure where I got the printout from, but you could easily just Google something, or if you had any image that you wanted to use, you could apply it here. And I just love how this looks. So once everything is dry and sealed, I am going to take a couple of these wood beads to go in between the letters to create my garland. Now that I have everything on the string, I did go and kind of eyeball measure how long I needed the garland to be so that it would fit my window frame that I'm going to put it on. So I'm just spacing out the eggs so that they're pretty much even. So I'm sure there would have been a better way to kind of hold these in place, but I was just in a rush, and the first thing I thought was just to apply some hot glue and then attach the jute string to that. Looking back, if you are going to do it this way, you may want to make sure that your eggs are evenly spaced from the top down. Some of my eggs were a little bit crooked, but this is how it turned out. I think it turned out really cute. So moving on to the next DIY, we have so much scrap wood laying around our house because I'm just constantly wanting to do projects and redo things. So these are some extra 1x2s that we had, and I just cut them down to the size that I wanted. And this is the first project that I used the saw on my own, and I did not have to ask my husband to cut anything. So at first you can see one of the pieces, I did attempt to stain it, but the stain I had just wasn't dark enough for me, so I do get my Waverly antique wax and go over each piece. I get a really good coat to them, however I like it, and then I do take a paper towel and wipe down the excess. And as you saw in the beginning, I did use 2 Dollar Tree pieces, and those will be incorporated in this in just a moment. I'm making a little lantern, well, I guess not little, but trying to make a lantern for my dining room. So I'm just setting these aside to dry, and I got these block pieces from Hobby Lobby. I wanted to use one of them just to give a little more dimension to the top. And just like the wood pieces, I'm giving a good coat of that antique Waverly wax. Wipe down any excess. I tried to wipe the same way that the wood is going, just so it doesn't like have some smeared look. And then I wanted these Dollar Tree pieces. I could have sanded down the glitter, or I have seen some people use Goo Gone. If you put a little Goo Gone on it and then you take a scraper, it'll pull the glitter right up. But I was just feeling pretty lazy, so I am taking some of the craft paper that you can find at the Dollar Tree, and I'm tracing these pieces. I added a little Mod Podge to where the trace lines were so that the edges would have the Mod Podge, and then I added hot glue just to get that instant hold. The purpose of the Mod Podge was so that I could sand down the edges, as you see I'm going to do here, and it just gives that finished look, and then you don't have the hot glue seeping out or having those little raised areas. And the paper didn't look too perfect, but that's okay because I am going to apply some paint here shortly, which will distract from that. Next up, we are taking our Waverly white chalk paint and just giving a decently heavy coat to distress it a little bit. I was going back and forth between using just white or the ivory color, but I have been seeing so many people use the plaster color that I just need to get some because I definitely want to incorporate that into my home decor. My next step here is I am taking the wood pieces and applying some wood glue and hot glue to hold them in place. And then those 2 Dollar Tree pieces will be the top and bottom. Here you can see that I did distress them with the white, so you can't even tell that's paper, which I thought was really cool. I did have some areas that were just a little bit too heavy with the white, so I'm going back over with my antique wax and making it look a little more distressed in those areas. I also wanted to make sure that the Dollar Tree pieces I used match the wood because I did not apply the wax paint prior to this. I didn't record it, but you can see there is a little square piece at the top. This is just out of the wood piece packs that you can get at the Dollar Tree. And here you have the final product. I just love, love, love how this turned out. A while back, I got a candle jar from the Dollar Tree that had this hanging inside of it. I just removed it from the glass piece, and I'm just giving it a quick distressed, I meant to say white dry brush. And I'm going to hot glue this to the top of the piece here. That way I can stick a little candle in it. I really could not decide what type of greenery I wanted to use in the bottom, so I did not glue it down or anything. And this is what you get. I just love it. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, we have plenty of scrap wood laying around the house. These were just pieces that were cut off of other material we needed, so of course I needed to put them to use. I am giving a good coat of the white Waverly chalk paint, trying to get all areas, all sides. I did paint the front and back of all of these because I did not think I was going to glue them down to one another, but I do end up doing that. So if you would like to glue them, you can skip that step and just paint the edges. And this is just some rub-on transfers that I got from the Dollar Tree in this little jar. I found this jar in the Dollar Tree glassware section, and it is just so cute. I wanted to use it. As you can see, my wood pieces aren't all the same size, and I am making the book stack look. So using some wood glue and hot glue, I am just applying each of these pieces together. So since I wanted these to look more like books, I am using the black paint to distress it. This is just regular acrylic paint, and I'm just going over the edges, and where my heavy hand landed, I'm going back over that with some white chalk paint. So I lost the clip where I showed these words. I found some rub-on transfers at the Dollar Tree that just have a bunch of words on them. So I picked out a couple of my favorites that would be like what titles of books would be. So I'm applying those here. And these rub-on transfers are so easy to apply. You can really just use your finger. Just be careful when you're pulling up the plastic because sometimes it doesn't all rub off together. And next I'm going to wrap the quote-unquote books with some jute string, and I am applying that with hot glue. And then this little laser cut key is also a piece that I found at the Dollar Tree. I looped it through, and I'm going to apply some hot glue just to hold it in place. I did have to cut the string from the bottom of the wood because it was creating an uneven placement. So throwing in some greenery, adding the cup, and this is what you get.